Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the episode of the Melanin Private Practice Group. I am your host, Jaylyn, and we are incredible, amazing Brandy Mambra. Super excited to have her join. Brandy, why don't you tell our audience who you are, what you do, and why we're here?
Yeah. So hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be here and just to have this CEO conversation with you. My name is Brandy Mabra. I'm the CEO of Savvy Clover Coaching and Consulting, and I am a CEO coach for private practice owners. So I have the amazing pleasure to help private practice owners to scale their practices for growth, sustainability, and profit. So we do that by focusing on hiring and team building and operations and making sure that you're able to show up and own your CEO status, and just lead from a place of being empowered so you can have an engaged team, a streamlined office, and you are essentially able to leave your practice and for it to run without you and all those good things that I know a lot of times when folks open up their practices that they want to be able to do, and sometimes just aren't able to get there.
Yes, I absolutely love that. So, what led you to wanting working with leaders in private practice?
Well, I have 15 plus years, and it's really getting closer to even like the 20-year mark. Not to age myself, but of building, growing, leading, healthcare practices. And so I've worked in a number of different specialties, and it's that expertise that I bring. I've worked in multi-million dollar practices, so this isn't just a simple maybe six figure or even multi six or seven figure practice. It's multi million, which is a different beast. And, and really 16 plus $1 million budgets, hundreds of team members. I've been hired to restructure and to help with turning, practices from hot messes into well-oiled, streamlined machines. Just some of the things I've been called Olivia Pope for private practice owners, just all of the things.
Yes.
So yeah, this is just it's what I do. It's what I've done for a number of years, and it's me sharing my business and leadership expertise with our clients, and it's a really great. I get fun. I love being able to do what I do. So it is amazing. I feel very blessed to be able to do this work.
I love that. So, for those of you who know what business is, Olivia Pope, to go woman, she just knows her stuff. Okay.
Yes. Yes. So she
I
is,
love that. Go
yeah, it's a
ahead, love.
compliment. It is a compliment.
For sure. And the medical field, to be that number one, especially as an African American woman, able to lead multi-million dollar practices at that, that is, how do I want to say, a very high achievement,
Oh,
right?
thanks.
What are some, you're welcome. What are some barriers that have had to help practice leaders overcome in order to get to where in this time?
Yeah, I would say just confidence. I know the clients that I get to work with, being a practitioner, you didn't go to school to, I'm not going to say you didn't go to school to lead because in the work that you do, you're always leading with the care that you're providing. But in regards to the management piece and some of the things that come with just running a business, you didn't ask for that. So it can definitely sometimes deter the dream of I want to make an impact in the world and be able to help people and do so many great things when you when the finances don't make sense, or you don't understand the money, or you hire somebody and they don't work out, or you have to let someone go but you're scared to let them go, or that this isn't going to work, or you
Yeah.
hire somebody thinking that they're going to have a really great skill set and it doesn't go that way. Or maybe the growth is happening and now your practice is taking on a life of its own and it's a beast, and you're like, what do? I don't even know what this next step is. I didn't realize. There was a conversation that I was having with someone, and she just opened up her practice in August, and she's already hired like 6 providers. So with that, it's just that kind of growth. And so those are the clients that usually end up coming to me asking questions about, what's next? What do I do? So I have the blessing of being able to work with, some 7-figure clients and who are trying to scale to 8. And a lot of it is, the people management piece, or the leadership piece, or the processes and systems, how
Yes.
to make financial decisions, like all those things that aren't taught in clinical training. So yeah, so
Yes.
I'm here to help with that.
And we talk about that a lot, conferences and workshops, and even if you guys are on Clubhouse, medical spaces, we talk about how doctors don't go into, or they're not at the medical school level. And so when you think about the challenges that it's not knowing what to look for, or it is experiencing those challenges, what is one thing that you could provide to providers and when am I facing a problem? What is it that I need to specifically look for? Coach, I need a consultant. I need somebody to come in and help me identify what's this.
Yeah, I always say that the red flag is the amount of hours, that you're putting in. And so oftentimes that dual role of trying to be the practitioner and the business owner gets to be very challenging. So if you are in a place of feeling, that overwhelm or that exhaustion, or it's like, I'm working early mornings, but I always say early mornings, late nights, weekends, and I just want to spend time with my family or my friends or my partner, or, that just being able just to take a breather. I would love to have a vacation, but I can't. Then that's usually the telltale sign that something's happening, and either taking the time to pull back and see exactly where your time is going and why you're working some of the hours that you're working, and where's the focus going. Because oftentimes I find it's not always the business side. Sometimes it's documentation that you have to do. Sometimes it's dealing with insurance carriers. Sometimes it's some of the nuances that can become time suckers or energy suckers that are taking away from you being able to run the business. And then when you get over to running the business, if you're feeling like, I don't even understand some of my financials, or how to make decisions from a P&L statement, or just being able to know the right person to hire, not feeling confident in your leadership and how to show up and empower your team. If you're having some of the mindsets where you feel like it's better if I do it myself, because I know it's safe with me, then all of those are signs that you need to bring in somebody to get some help potentially. So yeah. So
Let's wake that up for the do-it-yourself mentality. Like, why are some things that you have seen as a consultant and a coach to do it themselves and not seek the help? What's the fear? What is it?
Oh, the fear. The biggest fear is they're going to mess it up. My reputation's on the line. I'm going to get sued. Someone's going to be mad at me. It's going to take too long. Like, I need this today. And so if I give it to whoever, I'm not going to get it till next week, or, it's just quicker. Let me just take this 1 hour to do it myself, compared to really thinking in that 1 hour, what else can you do with your time? Like you could do a revenue generating activity with that 1 hour while your team member works on this, this
Yes.
project. And you might be able to do it quicker or faster, but you're not saving yourself any time, really. It might feel that way, but yeah, it's always the fear of they're going to mess it up, reputation. I'm going to get sued. Someone's going to get mad, and or I'm going to have to do it over again. So all of those things are definitely some of the fears that I see.
Okay. Now, are you also seeing that and external influences? Have you been able to see that or differ? So, for example, if there's a policy change, let's take what happened with the, I would start to draw like as soon as I go to say it, the good faith estimates. I struggle with that, y'all. When that happened, everybody had to ship it. Everybody had to update the big, okay, I got to do this now, or they're going to come and audit me now. And oh, if you don't, then we're going to get hit. Like, did you see a shift in how leaders started? Was there a lot of pressure? What is some things that impact them externally and or both?
Yeah, I mean, with healthcare, it's healthcare. Healthcare is always changing, and especially when you're working in a field where there's compliance and HIPAA, and whether you are self-pay or private pay, or if you are working with insurance, payers and things, there's still a sense of confidentiality when it comes to the services that we provide in healthcare. So externally, we have control over some things, but at the same time, there are things that get implemented that we just have to do because someone else says that we have to do. So I always look at what do you have control over and what can you do. So for example, with the policy change, with the good faith estimate. Okay, great. So now we know, like, we have to be very disclosive of what our prices are. What is the care going to cost for a patient, and in order for them to receive the care that they want. So, but you have a choice if you're going to post it on your website or if it's going to go in your financial agreement. If you need to get your lawyers involved, all of those things are important. But there's a process to this, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be the one to post the notice on the website. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be the one to update the financial agreement. It doesn't necessarily mean that you actually even have to be the one to to do all of the work in regards to this change. No, like, you have to leverage your team, make sure that you're bringing in the right experts, that you are putting yourself in a place of honestly leading the charge compared to being in the weeds and doing all of the stuff. So if it doesn't necessarily require you to do the work for whatever the policy is or whatever the change might be internally or externally, who on your team can help you? And then if you're in a place where you're like, I don't even have the right people in the right seats for me to even implement a change like this, then that's a sign for you. What do you need to do in order to get the right folks in the right seats? Who do you need on your team? What's missing? If something is changing, then why is this such a difficult task for you to do? And then come from that place of opportunity to make the changes that you need and to get the people in place that you need to have. So that way you can be successful, in your practice. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's true. Like, it's just, it's a lot of it comes down to mindset. And so that's why I'm so passionate about owning your CEO status. And so sometimes I get, when people think about CEO, it's essentially like, oh, well, I don't want to be like this big corporate, and I don't want to, be stuffy, or I don't want to, it just sounds so. But when I say it, it's essentially you taking ownership for what you're building, the purpose that you have, the mission and the vision, and putting your practice in a place where it is sustainable, that it's profitable, that it can thrive, and not being at the mercy of your practice, but the one who's leading your practice. And so, I remember, just past colleagues and with the practices that I had, and just always telling them, like, no, you're not at the mercy of your practice. You're the one who's in control of your practice. And, and so it's just funny, like, how over the years, things I used to say and things I would do, and how it's kind of all come to full circle because I say those things every day to my clients.
Yeah. Now, I want to go back to something you said, and when you started naming like different why people might do the things that they do. Why do you think that people have this wanting to be corporate? What is the stigma that is the corporate feeling? And
Oh.
because there are some right,
Hmm.
and what stops them from being actions with having that mindset block?
Yeah, I think when we think about corporate, at least, from my experience, when I think about it, it's the politics that are involved. It's what some of my clients say is, I don't want to lead from a fake place. And so honestly,
Mm.
within corporate, you have a lot of different types of leaders, a lot of different types of personalities, depending on the company that you're working with. And you want to, from a leadership perspective, the goal is always to show it from a place of being authentic and vulnerable. And as
Yeah.
we know in corporate, sometimes that's very challenging, especially if you're a Black woman or a person of color, where you feel like you have to mold to a certain to just to fit in or to get ahead, and that can be very challenging. So a lot of times when it comes to corporate, then there's this angst of just bad taste in the mouth and stuff. And so there's been some corporate companies that I've worked for that have been amazing experiences and where I've been able to actually learn a lot. And then there's been some positions that I've been in where I've had some challenges and some struggles too. But one of the things I will say when we think about corporate, I love the structure. So whenever and when you have a business, when you're growing a business, when you're trying to make sure that your business is profitable and thriving, you need structure. So that's the one thing that
Yes.
I will say, that to be able to implement is to have that capability. But at the same time, there's all the messiness. I mean, we can look at even some of the things that are happening with like the Twitter takeover, and I mean there's all kinds of stuff. But just when it comes to corporate, when we think about like, what in the world is happening, what is this? So yeah.
Okay. And so, how can leaders start to see the differences and managing and being able to be effective in their style as well as owning their CEO status?
Yeah. When you're leading, it's completely different than managing. When I think about managing, I think about projects. And so, there are some things in your business that you do need to manage. You need to manage the money. You need to make sure that the revenue makes sense, the expenses make sense, the P&L makes sense. But you're managing those things. There might be certain projects, like for example, one of my clients, she's transitioning EMR systems. So you're managing those types of things. When it comes to leading, that means that you're taking initiative, you're taking the charge, you're empowering others, you're giving the go ahead for you not to always be the one saying, this is what we're going to do. This is the process that we're going to implement. And no, like you're allowing your team to be part of that process and to honestly be a partner with you, right? And asking
Yeah.
them, what are your ideas? We're having this problem, or this doesn't make sense. How can we do this better together? And especially when you're trying to build a practice, there's so much influence and change that we can have when it comes to building practices, especially within our communities. And we need the access to care for so many different things. And so you want to be a leader, you don't, and you want a team of leaders, you want a team of experts. So when you lead from that place, then that's really powerful compared to where you're just
Yes.
always like managing and, well, do this, do that. I mean, a lot of people don't like to be managed that way. Um, and they
Yes.
want to be led. So,
Absolutely. I
yeah.
love that. Well, now, I want to kind of dive deeper into, you talked about a client that is transitioning EMRs systems. A lot amongst people who purchase a system when they first start and then they want to scale. They decide, I don't know, should I go
Yeah.
for another system? Do I need another system? And what are some things that cause people to need a new system? And then also as a leader, as owning what are some things that you can, or some tips that you can provide leaders to be decisions that they're making when it comes to those different changes and getting on being their employees not only be a part of the process, but also to acceptability is a huge problem in
Yeah.
the healthcare setting.
Yeah, I would say like when with EHRs, one of the things is as you're growing, I always say that there's like starter, EMR systems, and it's kind of the ones where you might pay like a monthly fee. You might need to upgrade it in order to get additional features, and but it gets the job done. So you're able to schedule, you're able to document, you might be able to do some billing in there. It's just a really simple, basic. It gives you like the bare essentials that you need in order to get started in a practice. As your practice is scaling and growing, and you start to have a need for more efficiency, more reporting, more information, being able to have more sophisticated metrics, then it becomes really important for you to understand. It's really important for you to understand that you need to have a more robust system. So like for example, one of my clients, she's transitioning, she's scaling, she's getting ready to be seven figures. And so she's in process of changing her EMR system because multiple providers, she needed to have more reporting when it comes to how are the providers doing, who's my money makers essentially, what's happening from payers, where some of the denials may be coming from, no-show reports, who's coming and who's missing, balances. Like the more money that you have coming into the practice, you need to have a better understanding of it. The more people that you have working within the practice, you need to have a more of a bigger view of what's happening too. So a more robust EMR system that gives you some additional tools is definitely warranted. So it's one of the things that I always recommend. But you don't need to start out there. I don't recommend that. But as you're growing and you need additional information, then I definitely recommend making a change for sure.
I love it. I love it. And so do the crowd.
Yeah, I can see where Jasmine's saying great conversation. So I'm happy that this is helpful. And then I saw Jonathan's comment earlier. So so thank you so much for the compliment, for the success. Yes.
Just tuning in now, we are we're interviewing Miss Brandy Mabra Consulting. You guys can get her free business health checkup list savvyclover.com. I'm going to ask you one final question. This is the big question that I've been waiting for. And this one is overcoming and what steps can, before we talk about imposter syndrome and how it shows up, not only for leaders, but what has it been like for you as an entrepreneur to overcome and done it? And then two, what are some action steps that you can provide to overcome that so that we can get, not to say it, but I'm going to say it.
Yeah. No, I love this question about imposter syndrome. For me, it shows up all the time. I mean, all the time. And I think it's a matter of I have a lot of years of experience when it comes to business leadership, especially when it comes to the practice space. And so there's sometimes though where I'm talking or I'm speaking and I'm like, do I really know what I'm talking about? Like, does this really make sense to people? Am I really a leader? Because we all have our own, we all have our own fears and things that we feel like we could be doing better, or maybe you might see somebody else in a space and like, oh, they talk about it better than what I do. But one of the things that I know is that, God puts us in places where he wants us to be, and he gives us gifts and talents and things. And so one of the things I know for me and what I take confidence in is that even throughout my career, before even coming, a full-time business owner, is that I I have been set up for success when it comes to this. And so just
Yes.
remembering your gifts, your talents, your experience, your wins, the different things. So sometimes I have to reflect back on my portfolio, the fact that I've been able to get to the C-suite, the fact that I've been able to, lead at the level that I've been able to lead, the fact that, I've been recruited specifically to work with practices to come in and restructure and to help them grow and to, all of those things. And so, one of the things that I did realize is that I was sitting on a moneymaker in regards to my talent and my expertise. And so, in this, even being able to work with really large hospital systems and global, healthcare organizations. And so, when you start to really step into what's true, imposter syndrome has so much to do with like limiting beliefs and assumptions and interpretations that we're making about ourselves,
Yeah.
or what we're putting on as what maybe other people think and putting it onto ourselves when it might not even be true. So asking yourself, what's the truth? Like, what is the truth when it comes to who you are? How you show up, what you bring to the table, what your worth is. Like all those things are important to recognize, and then just reinforcing it. So even above my desk, I'm feeding myself. I'm always pouring into myself to remind me of the work that I'm here to do, remind me of truly what God's purpose is for me. And to have the confidence in order to step out to do some of the scary things. And then for me, I'm on a mission. I want for my clients and for the private practice owners that I work with to have, a streamlined practice, to have a practice that makes sense, a practice that they love, a practice that allows for them to, show up and make the impact that they're meant to make. And so it's important too for our community. It's important for for our nation, for the nation, for the world, like all of the things. So, so that's what I take in, and that's why I show up the way that I do and how I combat some of my imposter syndrome. So some of the things that I suggest for those who are listening or even watching is, asking yourself, where are you holding back? And asking yourself the question, why are you holding back? And what's the fear? What's the fear? And just honestly, just stepping into what your truth is and what your experience is and what you bring into the table, and knowing that you're worthy. And so whether if it's the promotion, whether if it's starting a business, whether if it's, taking yourself to a next level, whatever that is for you, just having the confidence and knowing that it's meant for you. So you don't have to sit at your desk and feel, like, man, there has to be something more than this. There's so much more, so much more.
I love it, y'all. I love it. Can
Aw.
you just tell I'm smiling ear to ear? I can't stop.
It's fun.
Like you're just warming our hearts. You guys, if you could leading up to this live, like she pours into that, even the audience, they were just, we love her. She's amazing. Like based on this live, you just know.
Well, thank you, Jessica. This has been, I just appreciate even being able to have this conversation with you. So thank you.
You're very welcome. So appreciate you for coming on today's live and podcast. You guys, this is about, if you would like to learn more about Brandy and the Savvy Clover Coaching, and again, visit www.savvyclover.com where they can find you.
Yeah, you can always find me on Instagram. I am on LinkedIn because I know that we're streaming there. But you can also find me on Instagram at Savvy Clover Coaching. So SAVVYCLOVER Coaching. So we always hang out there. So you can, there's a lot of great information there. We try to make sure that we're always educating and providing value. I go live every Wednesday, over there. And then also, if you have any questions, you can always DM us. And then, as Jessica said, you can definitely find me on my website, savvyclover.com. And there is a free business health checklist there that's waiting for you. And then also we host a 2-day monthly seminar that we always host too. So we have one coming up for December. So if you go there, then you can also register for that. So yeah, a lot of great things.
I love it, love it, love it. Well, thank you again for joining us for this live, and everybody week. Bye for now.
Yeah, bye. Thank you.